Wow! I am actually convinced that of how Mr. Krabs had became that much of a dickhead. Why? Well, that's because I am ranting on another SpongeBob episode that I hate. And it's from season 6 this time. And it's going to be on Pat No Hat for Pat. Yep, an episode where Mr. Krabs was nothing but a huge dick in this episode. So, with that said, I hope you enjoy and let's get this started. Cue the intro, please. What's up, guys? It's me, Jonathan's Media Shack here again, and today, here it is. I am going to do a review / rant on another SpongeBob episode called No Hat for Pat, like from season 6. So basically, what the plot's about is Patrick was sleeping right outside of SpongeBob's house, and he wakes up wanting to go jellyfishing, only to discover that SpongeBob was wearing his Krusty Krab hat. And Patrick knows that SpongeBob has to go to work. Of course, Patrick became unhappy about that. Then he asks Squidward to play with him. But then he soon discovers that Squidward had a hat too. And much of his displeasure, Patrick bitches about it, and he bitches that he'll get himself a hat. Yeah, to the point where Patrick had become so bitchy, he acts like a total bitch. Yeah, and he promised himself to get a job as well, not just a hat. So yeah, at the Krusty Krab, meanwhile at the Krusty Krab, Mr. Krabs was just watching for customers. Of course, because he doesn't care about nothing but money. Because he's a dick, that's why. Easy to tell for me. Then he spots a group of tourists that he wants to serve some Krabby Patties. But Mr. Krabs fails to catch them. So Mr. Krabs thinks of an idea to catch them next time they come around. But then he bumps into Patrick, who he hires to stand outside and lure in tourists. He was also promised to have a hat afterwards. Of course, things are not going to go very well. So SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs watch as Patrick directs customers the wrong way. Because, of course, Patrick's a dumbass. They made Patrick one of the most unlikable dumbass in seasons 5 to 9. And not only that, he became a douchebag. Not just a dumbass, but he's also a douchebag. And sometimes he is also the dick of the show. And if Mr. Krabs is not being a dick, then SpongeBob and Patrick are also being dicks themselves. Sometimes, when Mr. Krabs is not in the episodes of seasons 5 to 9. I'm not saying that he's not in any of them. Yes, Mr. Krabs do appear in some episodes. I'm just saying. If Mr. Krabs is not here and he's not being a dick, then SpongeBob or Patrick are being dicks themselves. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry about that. Sorry about the confusion, guys. That's what I'm trying to say to clear things up. And sometimes he even pays no attention as well. And Mr. Krabs goes out to show him the proper way to lure in customers, but he fails to. And in the end, he finally receives his hat. Patrick actually gets the hat, only to fall for unknown reasons. SpongeBob asks him what's going on with him. Patrick supposes that he is very nervous, and he falls. And Patrick's falling lures in customers, including the tourists. Mr. Krabs decides to make Patrick the main attraction at the Krusty Krab because he wants Patrick to hurt himself. Okay, is this really a SpongeBob episode? Because it really reminds me of an episode of Happy Tree Friends instead. Because in that one they kill themselves and they hurt themselves too in that show. Even though I like Happy Tree Friends nowadays because I find that show to be actually pretty funny. This episode's not funny to me. I think that episode's atrocious, obviously. I'm just saying. Mr. Krabs hosts a show with Patrick as the star, but the customers are soon run out by Squidward, trying to entertain them, of course while thinking that they are uncultured as he plays the clarinet very terribly. Because of course, why not? Man, why does everyone hate Squidward so much? I mean, wow. Can't can't Squidward just get through one day without this scorn or torment? Apparently no, because all things always have to go very wrong for Squidward. And it roams around the Krusty Krab oblivious to his lack of talent. So the customers gets out of there, and when SpongeBob tries to take Patrick away for a bloody nose. Yeah, he tries to send Patrick home because he has a bloody nose. But do you know what Mr. Krabs says instead? Instead of showing sympathy for Patrick, he's like, we don't get this. We don't get, maybe you're right, boyo. Maybe it's time that I should let him go so he can feel all better and hopefully he'll stop being nervous and stop falling or hurt himself. No, none of that. You know what we get instead? Instead, we get one of the worst things ever that made Mr. Krabs so unlikable and hateful. We get this. Oh, a bloody nose, eh? Do you really think I'm that stupid? He doesn't even have a nose, god damn it. Now get back to work, all of you! I ain't paying you to sit your asses around. Yeah, that's what we get instead. Mr. Krabs being so demanding that to the point where it's obvious that he's the main antagonist, not Plankton. At least in seasons 5 to 9, that's what I think of. He is the main antagonist, especially with all the crimes and bad things that Mr. Krabs had committed. I mean, what the hell? What the hell? This is just terrible, guys. If you ask me, it's really terrible. Mr. Krabs arrives to see these debacles and silences Squidward's awful playing while forcing Patrick to get back to work because he he doesn't have a nose. Of course. And the customers continue to watch Patrick, but it gets old. But then Mr. Krabs starts to think of more painful ways to make Patrick fall, and it brings him back. Of course, because this episode reminds me of Happy Tree Friends rather than SpongeBob. SpongeBob tries to convince Patrick to stop falling for enjoyment, but Patrick begs him not to as the hat promotes him and he wants to keep doing his job. And Patrick bawls his eyes out, begging SpongeBob not to tell because all these years he had been called an asshole, but now everyone calls him good because of his hat. Patrick, calm down, okay? Since when have you been working? You didn't do anything when you were working. The only thing I could think of that you did work was Big Pink Loser. Well, he at least tried to do something right. But then the next day he dresses up as SpongeBob because he copies him everything that he does because of SpongeBob treating um um SpongeBob taunting him to do all these things that the Krusty Krab I meant. And then he copies SpongeBob. At least with Big Pink Loser, it was funny. But this is terrible, if you ask me. It's atrocious, in my opinion. Then the next day, he's going to fall into a bucket of spiky sea urchins, and he takes his hat off so it will not get damaged. And SpongeBob bawls his eyes out, and he blows a customer's hand with his nose. Ew! Couldn't he get a tissue at least? Rather than that, it's disgusting. Okay. And then he finds himself stuck on the edge. Patrick asks Squidward to push him as the latter is pleased at the thought of pushing one of his idiotic neighbors. Or should I say idiotic assholes, I should say, because of SpongeBob and Patrick's unbearable stupidity, I should say, especially with the Squidward Torture Festival. But he fails instead. He falls instead. Sorry, guys. I meant falls, not fails. Ugh. Pardon me, guys. Patrick puts his hat back on, starting to fall right after Squidward. As Patrick explained that he only fell because the hat made him top heavy. I'll explain the rest of the episode on the next part, so stay tuned, guys. Sorry about that. But stay tuned for the next part.